Yo, these politicians are trying to drag us into another war in the Middle East that could spark World War III with Russia. What are we gonna do? We're gonna stand up and stop them. We the people together as one. Let's go. Here's a message to the world from the American masses who are having an awakening and getting off their asses. When it comes to Syria, we the people say no. It's time for us to sit a war out and lay low. If you do a little research, the motive's quite clear. For a better explanation, you could click right here. But I'm gonna do my best to break it down, because the implications of a war in Syria are profound. First off, let me say it was a crime against humanity. Whoever used the chemical weapons has lost their sanity. But do we really know it was Assad, or is it a facade, all based upon a fraud? They lied about Afghanistan, they lied about Iraq, they lied about Vietnam by faking an attack. They lied about the NSA, they lied about the banks. So when it comes to war in Syria, fill in the blank. No more war, no more war. A war in Syria we cannot afford. No more war, no more war.
Good afternoon, my name is John Michael Turner. I currently reside in Burlington, Vermont. I served with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines as an automatic machine gunner. There's a term, once a Marine, always a Marine, but there's also the term, eat the apple, F the core. I don't work for you no more.
That was John Michael Turner stripping his medals and ribbons from his chest and throwing them into the audience to the applause of attendees at Winter Soldier. Turner then went on to describe some of his time in Iraq.
On April 18th, 2006, I had my first confirmed kill. This man was innocent. I don't know his name. I called him the Fat Man. He was walking back to his house, and I shot him in front of his friend and his father. The first round didn't kill him after I had hit him up here in his neck area. And afterwards, he started screaming and looked right into my eyes. So I looked at my friend who I was on post with, and I said, well, I can't let that happen. So I took another shot and took him out. He was then carried away by the rest of his family. It took 7 people to carry his body away. We were all congratulated after we had our first kills, and that happened to have been mine. My company commander personally congratulated me, as he did everyone else in our company. This is the same individual who had stated that whoever gets their first kill by stabbing them to death will get a 4-day pass when we return from Iraq. There was one incident where we got into a firefight just south of the government center, about 2,000 meters. We had no idea where the fire was coming from, and the way our rules of engagement were, pinpoint where the fire is coming from and throw a rocket at it. So with that being said, we still didn't know where the fire was coming from, and an 84mm rocket was shot into a house. I do not know if there was anyone in it. We do not know if that's where the fire was coming from, but that's what was done. Please go to the next image. This man right here was my 3rd confirmed kill. As you can see, he was riding his bicycle. Later on in the day, we went ahead and we had CBS Laura Logan with us, but she was with the other squad. And so she wasn't with us, so myself and 2 other people went ahead and took out some individuals because we were excited about the firefight we had just gotten into, and we didn't have a cameraman or woman with us. With that being said, anytime we did have embedded reporters with us, our actions would change drastically. We never acted the same. We were always on key with everything, did everything by the books. The man on the bicycle, he was left in the street for about 10 minutes until we realized that we needed to leave where we were. And his body was dragged about 10 feet to the right of him, where his body was thrown behind a rock wall, and his bicycle was thrown on top of him. Another thing that we used to do a lot was recon by fire, where we would go ahead and try to start a firefight if we felt threatened in any way, shape, or form. There's one particular incident where we were working with the Iraqi Army and the Iraqi Special Forces in downtown Ramadi, and with our squad and the Iraqi Army, there was also lieutenant colonels, majors, first sergeants, and sergeant majors. Sorry, sergeants major. With that being said, the Iraqi Army would go into the house, kick in the doors, and then go ahead and shoot. And there were loud bursts of machine gun fire. We thought we were taking fire, but then we later found out that it was them. House raids. Because we were a grunt battalion, we were responsible for going on several patrols. A lot of the raids and patrols we did were at the night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, around there. And what we would do is just kick in the doors and terrorize the families. That was an image taken around 3 o'clock in the morning through night vision goggles. And that is the segregation of the women and children and the men. If the men of the household were giving us problems, we'd go ahead and take care of them any way we felt necessary, whether it be choking them or slamming their head against the walls. If you go back to that one picture, that was one man that wasn't taken, that was taken care of in a very bad way. Because of all the wiring that he had, we considered it IED making material. On my wrist, there's Arabic for FU. I got that put on my wrist just 2 weeks before we went to Iraq because that was my choking hand. And anytime I felt the need to take out aggression, I would go ahead and use it. Please go to the next picture. Next. There's an instance of detainees and how they were treated in a nice manner. Next. That is the Fatimat Mosque minaret. As you can see, it is written with bullet holes and holes in the top of it. Those were from mortars. And the next video that I'm going to show you is a tank round that went into that minaret, where we weren't sure if we were taking fire or not. I'll talk about this one. This is after one of the guys in weapons company had gotten shot. This is a way that we would take out our aggression. For those of you who don't know, it is illegal to shoot into a mosque unless you were taking fire from it. There was no fire that was taken from that mosque. It was shot into because we were angry. Can you please play the next video?
We are on ice cream, trying to suppress the blue and white minaret named Fatimat al-Zahra.
Hell raiser, hell raiser. Go ahead and take another tape around that building over at that mosque door. Another round.
Kilo 2. Oh! Yes!
Next image. That, okay. With that being said, there's many more stories and incidents for me to talk about, although we don't have the time to. But this just goes to show you that that was the after effect of the tank round. This just goes to show you that everyone sitting up here has these stories. And there's been over 1 million troops that have gone in and out of Iraq. So the possibilities are endless. Next image, please. The reason I am doing this today is not only for myself and for the rest of society to hear, but it's for all those who can't be here to talk about the things that we went through, talk about the things that we did. Next image. Those 4 crosses and this memorial service were for the 5 guys in Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines that we lost. Throughout our unit, we had 18 that got killed. With that being said, that is my testimony. I just want to say that I am sorry for the hate and destruction that I've inflicted on innocent people, and I'm sorry for the hate and destruction that others have inflicted on innocent people. At one point, it was okay, but reality has shown that it is not, and that this is happening, and that until people hear about what is going on with this war, it will continue to happen and people will continue to die. I am sorry for the things that I did. I am no longer the monster that I once was. Thank you.
Former Marine John Michael Turner fought with the 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. The videos and photos the soldiers showed can be seen at our website, democracynow.org. This is
that we're better than other people because we're from the United States. It's like born into us. I mean, you see a lot of the soldiers over there from Iraq Veterans Against the War, and like last night this one dude was asking himself, he's like, why did it take me seeing one of my American soldiers die to wake me up about this war? Like, seeing hundreds and hundreds of Iraqis die, like, didn't do anything to wake me up. It took seeing one of my own die. And it's because you train that way. I mean, it's the same thing. Like think about it right now. Like, 10 Americans die in Iraq. 10 Iraqis die in Iraq. Which one do you care more about? I mean, it's just programs. Like, so that's a reason to stay away from the television and all mass media. But anyway, just right back to the point. So, you know, my point in that video was that, you know, why don't we have college education for everyone? Like, obviously, if you want to have a successful society, you want to educate people. So why aren't we being educated in the United States? Why do we have such a horrible education system? Well, one, I mean, education systems are going to basically, create a great education system is going to create revolutionaries and outside-of-the-box thinkers and people who are going to better the system. They don't want the system bettered, so they don't want to give you too good of an education. I mean, that's a huge part of it. And then another part of it that I'm really, hitting home on this video is, like, they wouldn't have any fucking dogs. They wouldn't have any servants. They wouldn't have any of our boys in their military to fight their wars, to take, to steal oil from other nations and all that shit. They wouldn't have anyone to do their service if we gave free college education to all United States citizens. The reason why these guys are going into the service is for college education. Look, just talk to guys, who have done service in the past. A very high percentage, and I'm generalizing, obviously not everyone, but a very, very high percentage of the guys and girls are going there for college education and to create a better future for them, in the future years. I mean, at least they have the hopes of that. So, that's what I'm getting at, folks, is, I mean, this is one of the huge reasons why we don't have this in this country. Okay? And just connect that cyclical with, look at this fucking system in this country. Like, they don't even want to educate us. Like, they don't want to educate their citizens too much. And, they'd rather have us go off to foreign countries and fight their wars for these fucking corporations and go kill our brothers and sisters for no reason. And, they're just, everyone, they're just programming everyone through mass media, created hysteria to go fight these wars in the first place. We have no business any fucking where. We're not the good guys. We're the fucking bad guys. The United States are the terrorists, folks. We're the fucking bad guys, and the United States are the terrorists. There are no fucking terrorists. Look at these service members coming home. They're all making videos saying there was no Al-Qaeda. I was over there for years, and there was no Al-Qaeda the whole fucking time. I mean, this is shit we got to pay attention to. And, post 9/11, I mean, most of you already know this, but post 9/11, why the fuck did we even go into Iraq? Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. So that's what you got to see. I mean, this is all about resource extraction and fucking bullshit, So, and colonization, and it's all synced in with the IMF and the World Bank. I mean, it's doing the bidding for that. I mean, the United States is like the global army for the World Bank and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Read some books by John Perkins, and he'll really break it down for you. He was a former economic hitman and jackal, and he helped overthrow governments and killed foreign dictators that were going against U.S. agenda-setting policy. So that's what it's all about. Like, I mean, this is no bullshit, folks. Like, the U.S. has an agenda here. And, I mean, it's some scary shit. And that's why, you know, all these successful revolutionaries get murdered off. I mean, last night I was watching a video about how not only of course, we all know they killed Malcolm X, but they also killed his wife. And recently they fucking killed his grandson. I mean, dude, these motherfuckers are not fucking around. And, you know, so it's this system. And, you know, the big part of the United States and its tie into the United Nations is being the military. You know, that's why, you know, it's like that's why we're doing all this shit. It's why we have so much tax money going to the military, and you know, we're over there doing all the fuck. Our boys are doing all the chores for whatever the IMF and the World Bank and these nasty corporations and big oil and all that shit want. And it's all about war profiteering. Like, war is big business, like big business, like mega trillionaire business. So you can make lots of money in war, and you fund both sides. And most people, I mean, I think a lot of people know this who have looked into it, that, you know, this is how things really work, and it's about war profiteering. So that's what you see going on with the United States. Like, people, we got to stop believing this fucking bullshit that the mass media pumps out about how this country's socialist or dictatorship or any of this bullshit. Like, no one's as bad as the United States. Like, you live in the most evil country in the entire world. Like, we're destroying the world through not only our foreign imperialism and our and enforcing the hypocrisy of a style of government that doesn't even work here and that we don't even use here onto these foreign nations, trying to pretend like it works. And not only that, but then, like I mentioned before, you get into mass consumerism and materialism. And what you have to understand, folks, and this is a huge one, this is the second most important point of the video, is for everything that we have in America, it's something that someone in another country doesn't have. This is a world of finite resources. So resources are no longer infinite due to basically the white man. Yeah, you can really break it down to the white man just extracting the natural resources from the earth mother, the minerals and the stone and the oil and everything that, you know, goes into making the earth the being that it is. It's like, you know, it's sucking the blood from the earth and subsequently sucking the blood of the human race. You know, people, like, the first cars were made of hemp. The first cars ran on hemp fuel. You know, so much has been done to reverse the society in conspiratorial fashions. And that's what's so funny about conspiracy theories is, like, this fucking United States is a fucking conspiracy theory. This place is, you know, it's crazy when you find out the truth to shit. Everything that's going on with the NSA and TSA and, you know, right on down the line. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just going to leave you with that, folks. I mean, we got to start thinking about this system, and we got to turn the TVs off, stop listening to the mass media, and start creating your own opinions. Start looking into what your brothers and sisters in Syria are saying. See what they're saying in Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iraq and Iran. These are just a few countries that the United States has some disgusting illegal occupations in, criminal, unethical. You know, really, whoever's in charge should all be arrested without a doubt. I mean, we're the ones funding it, so we're all criminals too. We're literally, folks. I mean, sometimes you might feel that suffering a little bit because you're paying. Murder is being carried out in your name. Bloodshed's being carried out in your name. Really, like, I mean, look at videos, these WikiLeaks videos of what these U.S. soldiers are doing. They're literally, these are just kids playing fucking video games like their whole life. Shoot them up, kill them up, and then they go overseas and they're trying to do the same thing and they're shooting at. I mean, there's documented videos of them shooting at innocent civilians just for fucking fun, shooting from helicopters, just people walking around, you know, like like after they dropped the bomb, like, you know, this just general Joe Public trying to like take someone to the hospital and then just, you know, shooting them all like their little dots, like little number, like in a video game, just trying to get your kills up. And they literally say it in some of these WikiLeaks, like, wow, like, yeah, I got him right through the windshield, headshot, like talking like this about human beings. And we're the bad guys. These guys aren't the bad guys. Some of these soldiers are just so programmed. And then they realize that they've just been programmed with racism and nonsense. And then after a couple years, you know, they start feeling horrible and realizing everything they did was wrong. And that's why everyone's really got to connect with Iraq veterans against the war. It's hopefully just the start and the beginning of some true activism coming from you know, former veterans, because like they've been doing it for years and they're just growing and growing and growing, and maybe more organizations like this can come up, or maybe just, you know, just more power to Iraq veterans against the war, you know, however it takes to be successful. But you know, power is definitely in numbers, folks. And you know, if you're a soldier out there, you know, they could use all the testimonials they can get. I mean, all these soldiers are just getting so fucked over. No one's getting health benefits or anything. And it's crazy, you know, it's crazy. So I think the way we can really create fundamental changes, let's demand a change in our taxpayer structure. You know, the military is no longer getting the money, and the education system's getting the money, and that'll change everything in our fucking country. That'll change everything, and that's why it won't happen. I mean, that's why we have to make it happen. But that's why, you know, if it's up to them, you know, the rich elite, the minority, it won't happen, you know, because they understand, like, you know, that'll reverse the structure of everything. That'll reverse the oppression and the suppression of true knowledge and wisdom and true education and everything that's wrong with this country. I mean, we just need to be more educated, folks. Like, people in the United States are fucking stupid. I mean, you think you graduate high school and you got all the education you need, but high school is pure brainwash. So it's time to wake up and start doing your own research and reading books, and you know, really getting in touch with yourself and true wisdom, and start learning and stop being so entertained, and you know, realize that you have a divine purpose in this life and that we really fucking need you. We fucking need you, you know. It's really hard, like, you know, a lot of us are kind of doing this all on our own, and we need everyone who really knows to just step up and go out on a limb and stop caring about what your friends think, and stop worrying about being different. And you know, it's time to make a change, because what we're doing right now by just sitting back and letting the United States military run rampant in these foreign occupations is you're collecting really that karma from by being responsible, by murder being carried out in your name. I mean, it makes you a murderer. There's nothing more evil you can do on this planet. So by sitting back and doing nothing, you're actually supporting the most evil fucking. You're supporting the devil. You are supporting, like, look at these fucking guys. You'll see they take on the energy of like that demonic, devilish, satanic shit, and that's who you're paying. They're doing it in your name. Literally, you know, look into all this. You know, I don't mean to keep repeating it. It's just, you know, you're not really going to fully understand until you start doing your own research and take it upon yourself. But, you know, so what we need to do is, if you really think you're a Christian, or you really think you're a Muslim, or you really think you're a Buddhist, or you really think you're anything, you really think you're a good person, is what it comes down to. If you think you're a good person, then you got to start speaking out against the United States military. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you think you're a good person, you've got to start speaking out against the United States military and the demonic shit that it's carrying out, because the United States military, the United States are the bad guys, folks. And we've been so programmed our entire lives by the mass media to believe the opposite, but it's time to wake the fuck up. Easy, y'all. Many blessings to everyone today. Give thanks and praises to the Creator, and you know, start manifesting your destiny in this life, folks. You are creating your own realities, and the world is as you dream it. So you have an unbelievable opportunity on this day to make your dreams become a reality. And every single challenge is just an opportunity in disguise. Every single perceivable problem is an opportunity in disguise. It's the universe giving you the option to evolve. So every problem is just an opportunity in disguise, folks. And that's what life's all about. Taking the sunshine, eat raw, clean, living fruits and vegetables, drink clean water, get plenty of sleep, stay hydrated, eat plenty of carbs, eat low fat, and give love, and don't be afraid to say I love you.
You got your war, it's a pack of lies. You got your war, it's a pack of lies. You got your war, it's a pack of lies. You got rich, but you sent me to die. Yo.
My name is Adam Kokesh. I served as a sergeant on a Marine Corps Civil Affairs team in the Fallujah area from February to September of 2004. And I actually volunteered to go to Iraq. I was a reservist in an artillery unit. And when I found out my unit was getting called up, I decided I didn't want to miss the party. So I found out that a civil affairs group at Camp Pendleton was looking for volunteers. And so I went out of my way to volunteer for that. And I was against the war before the war, even believing all of the lies that were told by Colin Powell at the UN, believing all of the intelligence, believing all the spin. I didn't think it was going to be worth it. But I thought that afterwards what we were doing was cleaning up our mess and really responsible foreign policy and genuinely trying to do good by the Iraqi people, and that was something I wanted to be a part of and something that I enthusiastically risked my life for. This is the rules of engagement card that I was issued for our deployment to Iraq, and this is held up as the gold standard of conduct in the occupation right now. I'll just read a part of it. It says, "Nothing on this card prevents you from using deadly force to defend yourself. Enemy military and paramilitary forces may be attacked subject to the following instructions. Positive identification is required prior to engagement. Positive identification is reasonable certainty," and that's in quotes on the card, "that your target is a legitimate military target." And of course, we were supposed to keep this in our breast pocket here. But when Marines are put in a situation where they receive fire and all they see is a muzzle flash coming from a building, and they don't have positive identification, but they know that if they return fire through that window or towards that building, that they're more likely to live through whatever's going on. It's a really difficult situation, and I think it's criminal to put such patriotic Americans who have sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America in a situation where their morals are at odds with their survival instincts. During the siege of Fallujah, we changed rules of engagement more often than we changed our underwear. At first it was, you follow the rules of engagement, you do what you're supposed to do, and then there were times when it was you can shoot any suspicious observer, so someone with binoculars and a cell phone was fair game. And that really opened things up to a lot of subjectivity. But also firing at muzzle flashes into the city, firing Mark 19s into the city became common practice. And at one point, we imposed a curfew on the city of Fallujah, and at that point, we were told we were allowed to shoot anything after dark. And fortunately, I was never put in that situation to make that decision, but there were a lot of Marines, on the positions around me who were forced to make those choices. About the situation being criminal, about the criminality of putting Marines in this position, because when you tell them that the rules of engagement are you can shoot anything that moves after dark, we have a reasonable certainty based on our intelligence or whatever that anything that moves after dark is an enemy combatant. Well, you can't expect those Marines to stop and analyze every situation, because they're going to operate based on those rules of engagement and they're going to do what they have to do. So I got up in the middle of the night when the Iraqi policeman at our checkpoint got the call, and through pointing and pantomime and the little Arabic I spoke at the time and an Arabic translation dictionary, I was able to help figure out that there were Marines shooting at Iraqi firefighters and cops, and we were able to send it down our chain of command and stop that from happening. But how many incidents like that happened where it wasn't so clear and there were just shadows being shot at? And I know that that happened while I was there during the siege of Fallujah. That kind of thing where we're just harassing people unnecessarily is really kind of part of daily life there. And eventually we set up a proper checkpoint, and I was relieved and went back inside, and the Marines that were there were checking almost every car that came through, and they found a couple of guys that had a bag of cash in their back seat. And they detained them on suspicion, and we're like, all right, well, we're going to detain them and interrogate them. And so they were zip cuffed and hooded, and I was told to go out and get them and pick them up, and so I picked them up in my Humvee, got the bag of cash, brought them back to the office where it was air conditioned, and sat them down, and was just keeping an eye on them. And then the interrogators got there, and they were like, why the heck are you guys being so nice to these people? They started roughing them up and throwing their heads against the wall and, you know, preparing them for interrogation. And they dragged them out of the office, and apparently they got actually reprimanded on the outside of the office by one of our officers for engaging in that unnecessary behavior. And then they interrogated them, and they found out that there was no reason to detain them any further. And the bag of cash was about this big, which would have been a lot of American money, but in Iraqi dinars, it was only about $10,000, $15,000. And so they let them go, just like that. And I can tell you, if that money wasn't intended for the insurgency beforehand, it was after that.
My name is Jason Hurd. I recently completed 10 years of honorable service to my country in both the U.S. Army and the Tennessee National Guard. I served in central Baghdad from November of '04 to November of '05. I'm from a little place nestled in the mountains of East Tennessee called Kingsport. My father was adamantly opposed to me serving in the military. My father was one of the most warmongering, gun-loving people you could ever meet. But he didn't feel that way when it came to his son because he knew the negative psychological consequences of combat service. Looking back, I know for a fact that my father had post-traumatic stress disorder. He had the rage, he had the nightmares, and he had the flashbacks. I decided against my father's wishes to go into the military as a medic in August of '97. We got into Iraq in November of '04, and I was there until November of '05. I served as a medic with Troop F, 2nd Squadron, 278th Regimental Combat Team. After we finished the EOD escort missions, we moved on to another mission, patrolling the Kendi Street area, which is right outside of the Green Zone. Kendi Street is a relatively upscale neighborhood. Some of the houses in the Kendi area would cost well over $1 million here in America. This area, from what we were told, had no violent activity at all up until the point we started patrolling this area. I remember we were out on a patrol one day, a dismounted patrol, and we were walking by a woman's house. She was outside in her garden doing some work. We had our interpreter with us, and our interpreter threw up his hand and said, "Salam alaikum," which is their greeting in Iraq. It means peace of God be with you. And he translated back to us what she said. She said, no peace of God be with you. She was angry and she was frustrated, and so we stopped, and our interpreter said, well, what's the matter? Why are you so angry? We're here protecting you. We're here to ensure your safety. And that woman began to tell us a story. Just a few months prior to this, her husband had been shot and killed by a United States convoy because he got too close to their convoy. He was not an insurgent. He was not a terrorist. He was merely a working man trying to make a living for his family. A few weeks after this man died, the Special Forces team got some intelligence that this woman was supporting the insurgency. And so they conducted a raid on her home, zip-tied her and her 2 children, threw them on the floor, and I guess her son was old enough to be perceived as a possible threat, so they detained him and took him away. For the next 2 weeks, this woman had no idea whether her son was alive, dead, or worse. At the end of that 2 weeks, the Special Forces team rolled up, dropped her son off, and without so much as an apology, drove off. It turns out they had acted on bad intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, things like that happen every day in Iraq. We are harassing these people. We are disrupting their lives. One day we were on another dismounted patrol through the Kendi Street area. We were walking past an area we called the Garden Center because it was literally a fenced-off garden. As is policy, we are to keep all cars and individuals away from our formation. And so a car was approaching us from the front. I was at the rear of the formation because I was the medic, and the medics hang out at the back with the platoon sergeant in case anything happens up front so you can respond. They waved the car off down a side street so that it would not come near our formation. As I made it up to that side street, the car had turned around and was coming back towards us because the street was blocked off by a concrete T-barrier at the other end. So I began doing my levels of aggression. I held up my hand, trying to get the car to stop. The car sped up. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is it. This is someone who is trying to hurt us. And so instead of doing what I should have done according to policy and raising my weapon, instead I did what you should never do, and I took my hands off of my weapon altogether and began jumping up and down, waving my hands back and forth, trying to get this car to stop and see me. The car kept coming. And so I raised my weapon, and the car kept coming. I pulled my selector switch off of safe, and the car kept coming. I was applying pressure to my trigger, getting ready to fire on the vehicle, and out of nowhere, a man came off of the side of the road, flagged the car down, and got it to pull over. He walked around to the driver's side door, opened it up, and out popped an 80-year-old woman. Come to find out, this woman was a highly respected figure in the community, and I don't have a clue what would have happened had I opened fire on this woman. I would imagine a riot. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate guns. I spent 10 years in the military, and I carried 2 of them on my side in Iraq. But I think they should be melted down and turned into jewelry. To this day, that is the worst thing that I've ever done in my life. I am a peaceful person, but yet in Iraq, I drew down on an 80-year-old geriatric woman who could not see me because I was in front of a desert-colored vehicle, or excuse me, desert-colored building wearing desert-colored camouflage. Part of our mission was to meet and greet the local population and find out what their problems were. And so I approached a man with my interpreter on the side of the road, and I asked him, I said, look, are your lives better because we're here? Are you safer? Do you feel more secure? Do you feel like we are liberating you? And that man looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, mister, we Iraqis know that you have good intentions here. But the fact of the matter is, before America invaded, we didn't have to worry about car bombs in our neighborhoods. We didn't have to worry about the safety of our own children as they walk to school. And we didn't have to worry about U.S. soldiers shooting at us as we drive up and down our own streets. Ladies and gentlemen, the suffering in Iraq is tearing that country apart. And ending that suffering begins with a complete and immediate withdrawal of all of our troops. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is John Michael Turner. I currently reside in Burlington, Vermont. I served with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines as an automatic machine gunner. There's a term, once a Marine, always a Marine, but there's also the term, eat the apple, F the core. I don't work for you no more. I served 3 deployments with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines, one of which was in Haiti. The other 2 were in Iraq, in between Fallujah and Abu Ghraib the first time, and in downtown Ramadi at the government center the second time. On April 18th, 2006, I had my first confirmed kill. This man was innocent. I don't know his name. I called him the Fat Man. He was walking back to his house, and I shot him in front of his friend and his father. The first round didn't kill him after I had hit him up here in his neck area. And afterwards, he started screaming and looked right into my eyes. So I looked at my friend who I was on post with, and I said, well, I can't let that happen. So I took another shot and took him out. He was then carried away by the rest of his family. It took 7 people to carry his body away. We were all congratulated after we had our first kills, and that happened to have been mine. My company commander personally congratulated me, as he did everyone else in our company. This is the same individual who had stated that whoever gets their first kill by stabbing them to death will get a 4-day pass when we return from Iraq. There was one incident where we got into a firefight just south of the government center, about 2,000 meters. We had no idea where the fire was coming from, and the way our rules of engagement were, pinpoint where the fire is coming from and throw a rocket at it. So with that being said, we still didn't know where the fire was coming from, and an 84 millimeter rocket was shot into a house. I do not know if there was anyone in it. We do not know if that's where the fire was coming from, but that's what was done. This man right here was my third confirmed kill. As you can see, he was riding his bicycle. Later on in the day, we went ahead and we had CBS Laura Logan with us, but she was with the other squad. And so she wasn't with us. So myself and 2 other people went ahead and took out some individuals because we were excited about the firefight we had just gotten into, and we didn't have a cameraman or woman with us. With that being said, anytime we did have embedded reporters with us, our actions would change drastically. We never acted the same. We were always on key with everything, did everything by the books. The man on the bicycle, he was left in the street for about 10 minutes until we realized that we needed to leave where we were. And his body was dragged about 10 feet to the right of him, where his body was thrown behind a rock wall, and his bicycle was thrown on top of him. On my wrist, there's Arabic for FU. I got that put on my wrist just 2 weeks before we went to Iraq because that was my choking hand. And anytime I felt the need to take out aggression, I would go ahead and use it. This is after one of the guys in weapons company had gotten shot. This is a way that we would take out our aggression. For those of you who don't know, it is illegal to shoot into a mosque unless you were taking fire from it.
Recovery is a campaign to stop the deployment of traumatized troops. Organizers from Iraq Veterans Against the War have been coming together to decide what issues our service members are facing right now and what's having the most effect on their lives. And we've realized that a lot of people are deploying with trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, military sexual trauma, and traumatic brain injury, and that these soldiers aren't getting the care that they need and that they deserve. I'm Maggie Martin. I'm an organizer with Iraq Veterans Against the War. I served in the military from 2001 through 2006. Through several organizing meetings across the country, we've come together to talk about this issue and break into teams and work on research, collecting stories from service members who have been affected by trauma.
Going AWOL is, it's not something I wanted to do, and it's sad that I had to resort to that. But I did what I thought was right. My name is Specialist Jeff Hanks.
Jeff returned to Fort Campbell to make a public stand against the Army's poor treatment of traumatized troops.
I've been to Iraq in 2008, and then I deployed to Afghanistan this year. And I came on leave, and I've been dealing with some issues, a lot of issues from Iraq. I kept it to myself. I tried to deal with it the best way I could. It really had an effect on my daughters. I have 2 little girls, 5 and 3, and some of the stuff I saw in Iraq really brought it home to me, how brutal war can be. I'll give you a specific. There was a car bomb that went off near my base in Balad, Iraq. 7 to 10, I can't remember the exact number of Iraqi civilians were hurt. So I went to help like everybody else did. They brought in this little girl. She was the same age as my oldest daughter, and she is. It's been 2 years and I can't even talk about it. She was really badly hurt, and that has stuck with me ever since. I've had nightmares about this, depression, but I didn't want to seem weak.
Me and my friends here are here to support Jeff and all those others that are out there hurting.
Operation Recovery has been focusing on a few main posts where we have organizers already ready to reach out to the troops and where we know that troops are really affected by this issue, and Fort Hood is one of those places.
Under the Hood is at 17 College Street, Killeen, Texas. We give out information to GIs on their rights and help them through their grievances with the military. My name is Kyle Wazalowski. I'm a conscientious objector and the manager of Under the Hood Cafe. I am a Fort Hood soldier. I understand the ins and outs of Fort Hood. I'm freshly out of the military, and I think that's a good quality to have for new GIs that are going to be coming through the doors. And it's a place where everybody around the community can get together and speak their mind freely. I am here to team up with Iraq Veterans Against the War, also a member, and the Operation Recovery team.
We know that Fort Hood is being affected by trauma every day.
Our leaders need to uphold the oath that they swore. No more war, no more war. All the American bombs will bring is more gore. No more war, no more war. The will of the people will not be ignored. Let's look at the geopolitical situation. Criminals are pivotal in the pitiful altercation. American sights on Iran, Syria, and Sudan, all derived from the petrodollar scam. Richard Nixon and the Saudis became good buds. They would only trade the oil in dollars and American blood. We offered them the protection of our military. Shortly after the agenda got really scary, the same arrangement spread to many other nations, and that is when the petrodollar saw its creation. The dollar was back with oil, not gold. Most Middle Eastern states under American control, but there were a few who resisted this scheme, like Iran and Syria. Are you getting the theme? And now Al-Qaeda and Obama are on the same team, while the mainstream media provides a smokescreen. Our government is funding the so-called rebels. The side is pretty bad, but not quite on the level. Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, slaughtering en masse, and there's evidence that they use the gas. If the side did it, he wouldn't gain jack, but the terrorists will gain from a false flag attack that could be blamed on Bashar, so America would start bombing from afar. No more war, no more war. A war in Syria we cannot afford. No more war, no more war. Our leaders need to uphold the oath that they swore. No more war, no more war. All the American bombs will bring is more gore. No more war, no more war. The will of the people will not be ignored.